Right. Let's talk about something that can drive anyone absolutely crazy. You finally find your perfect place, your sanctuary, and then it starts. The noise from your neighbor. It can turn your dream home into a living nightmare, right? We've all been there, at least in some way. But when it gets really bad, what can you actually do? What does the law say? That's what we're digging into today. Oh, this one. This is the classic, isn't it? The go-to response that makes you start questioning yourself. Am I the crazy one? It's the absolute heart of the problem. What one person considers just living in my own home becomes absolute torture for someone else. And believe it or not, this exact argument is what lands people in court.
So let's paint a picture. Imagine a guy, we'll call him A, who just moved into his dream apartment. It's perfect for a while. But then, every night, like clockwork, after 10 p.m., it starts. Kong, kong, kong. A heavy, relentless stomping from the apartment above. At first, he tries to brush it off, but it just keeps going. Soon, it's not just stomping, it's kids running wild, furniture being dragged across the floor. I mean, even the sound of someone crushing garlic at midnight, it just doesn't stop.
So A does what any of us would do. He takes a deep breath, goes upstairs, and politely asks if they could just keep it down a little. And what does he get? That cold shoulder, that "you're too sensitive" line. So now what? The nice neighborly approach has totally failed. Is he just supposed to live with it, suffer in silence, or can the law actually do something here? Well, to get a real concrete answer, we're not just going to speculate. We're going to look at what the courts actually did. We've got 3 real-life lawsuits, 3 different neighbors who took the fight to the next level. Each case gives us a totally different piece of the puzzle. Okay, so here's the lineup. In our first case, you've got someone who came prepared. They had a ton of evidence against a neighbor they swore was making noise on purpose. Case 2, a similar story, but they had no real proof to back it up. And case 3 is the real wild card. This is about the person who got so fed up, they decided to fight fire with fire. We're talking 3 totally different strategies, and as you'll see, 3 very, very different results. You might think a judge just listens to both sides and decides who's more believable or who's more upset. But it's not like that at all. There's actually a specific legal standard they use to cut right through all the emotion. And understanding this one principle, well, it's the key to figuring out why each of these cases ended the way it did. And here it is, the big one. In Korean law, it's called su-in hundo, and it basically means the limit of tolerance. The best way to think about it is like the law's official patience meter. It's the line in the sand that separates normal, everyday noise from a disturbance that's actually illegal. It's the point where the law says, nope, you shouldn't have to endure this. Look, the courts get it. They're not expecting complete silence. When you live in an apartment, you're going to hear stuff. People have to walk, kids play, things get dropped. That's just part of life. But there is a limit. There's a breaking point. And once the noise crosses that limit of tolerance, it stops being just an annoyance and turns into a legitimate legal problem. All right, so we have this big idea, this limit of tolerance. Now let's see how it actually plays out in the real world. We're going to apply it to our 3 cases. And this is where you'll see why one person won and the others didn't. So let's talk about case number 1. This was the win. The person downstairs, A, actually won their lawsuit. And the reason is simple. They proved it. They showed the court that the noise wasn't just occasional stomping. It was so constant, so out of the ordinary, that it went way past that limit of tolerance. The court agreed and made the noisy neighbor pay up. But, and this is super important, the court didn't order them to be silent. They just had to stop the excessive noise. Okay, now this is where it gets really telling. Compare case 1, the success, with case 2, the failure. The winner had hard proof, objective evidence. The loser in the second case, they talked about how the stress was making them sick, how miserable they were. And while that's awful, the court's message here is brutally clear. Your feelings, your stress, your suffering, it's not enough. You need cold, hard, objective proof that the noise itself crossed a legal line. And that brings us to our 3rd case. And this one is a doozy. This is where the story takes a huge twist. We have another victim, let's call him C, who just got fed up. He decided if you can't beat him, join him. Or maybe more like, fight fire with fire. He went from being the victim to being the aggressor. So what did he do? Get this, he installed something called a retaliation speaker on his ceiling to blast noise back at them. He'd ring their doorbell over and over at all hours. In his mind, he was just protesting, right? Giving them a taste of their own medicine. But the court? The court saw it completely differently. The law has no room for an eye for an eye. What C called a protest, the court called illegal harassment. So here's the absolute kicker. By taking matters into his own hands, C, the original victim, completely flipped the script. He ended up on the wrong side of the law. The court actually issued a restraining order against him. And he could even end up paying damages to the original noisy neighbors. I mean, talk about a total and complete backfire.
Okay, so if getting revenge is clearly a terrible idea, what should you do? How do you handle this the smart way? Let's take everything we've learned from these cases and build a practical, step-by-step guide. This is how you fight the noise without breaking the law yourself.
Okay, rule number 1, and this is non-negotiable. Stay calm. Do not retaliate. No banging on the ceiling with a broom, no screaming matches. It will absolutely kill your case. Step 2, and this is the most important thing you can do. Collect evidence. We'll talk more about how in a second. Step 3, before you even whisper the word lawsuit, try mediation. There are official committees for this stuff, and it's way cheaper and faster. And finally, if nothing else works, send a formal legal notice. It shows you're serious and that you've done everything by the book.
So what does collecting evidence actually look like? Well, first, start a noise log. Write down the date, the time, how long it lasted, and what it sounded like. Second, use your phone. Record the noise. And here's a pro tip. Have your TV on at a normal volume in the background of the recording. It gives the court a point of reference for how loud the noise really is. If you want to get really serious, you can hire a professional to measure the decibels. And don't forget witnesses. Talk to your building manager or see if other neighbors are willing to back you up. You know, it's so important to remember this. The whole point of all these steps, all these legal tools, isn't to win a war against your neighbor. It's to solve a problem and get back to a peaceful life in your own home. If you go into this looking for a fight, you're going to have a bad time. But if you go in looking for a solution, you're much more likely to find one. So when all is said and done, it leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? The law is there. It's a tool, a last resort for when things completely break down. But can a lawsuit ever really be a substitute for just basic human consideration? For remembering that we're all just trying to live our lives sharing the same space? It's definitely something to think about.